Bruce.
Ron.
I feel like that's like our new call sign thing. Or we should have call signs. Like you can be Lucky and I'll be Spitshine. I don't know what the fuck. I don't know. I've never said that before. Welcome to another episode of R&B, the R&B Show. Today we are going to talk about a follow-up. We're going to talk about episode 3 and 4 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Bruce, you were wearing your Star Wars t-shirt. I'm wearing my Greatest American Hero t-shirt because I have a Star Wars t-shirt. I'm not going to wear
it. Is this your way of, you're making a statement with this, aren't you?
Yes. And speaking of statements, I'm going to dive right in and tell you that I've really been enjoying episode 3 and 4. And I think I figured out the Reva issue for me.
Okay.
So is it okay if we dive right in?
Yeah, go right ahead, especially on that, because obviously we know that's been a hot button topic regarding this show. That's been everything. It's, I think, a little calculated on Lucasfilm's part, but we'll get into that later. But go ahead and hit me with what you think.
See, here's the thing. I have about calculated. I have to backpedal a little bit here. There was a lot of racism that was thrown her way, and that's fucked up. Like, that's disgusting. I didn't realize the extent of it. I had just heard the first part where Lucasfilm told her that there's gonna be racism, but there was a lot of racism. Like, it's and to the point where we talked about Ewan McGregor had to go on camera and be like, "Yo, if you're racist, you're not a Star Wars fan." You know, the whole premise of Star Wars is to not is like they all, you know, all the people, all the different species from all the different galaxies work together. So anyway, but Reva, like, I think these past 2 episodes, 3 and 4 have been, I mean, I got a lot of what I wanted out of it, you know. We'll talk in detail, but like the Reva character still is not fitting well for me. And then again, there's this guilt feeling because everyone's upset about this character, right? And here's what I think the issue is. I think she's I think she looks the part. I think she, like, I get where they cast her, right? I think she looks like a badass. I think as an actress, though, I think she's a good guy. Like, I think I would cast her in like, I would cast her as like the Leia equivalent, right? Like if we're doing the modern version of A New Hope, I would cast her as Leia in a heartbeat. I think she's strong and powerful, but I think she's a good guy. Does that make sense? So it's like an opera singer singing rock. There's this, it's like,
it's a bad fit.
It's a bad fit.
It's a bad fit. And I think she's not helped by the writing and the direction of this too.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the problem. I think the actress did shoot herself in the foot a little bit too. And again, it was with Lucasfilm anticipating, you know, a lot of this. And I think there's, in a lot of ways, I think it's almost, like I said, manipulated in a way to drum up this kind of conversation that they want to be at the forefront of things. But she kind of came out and said, you know, that, oh, there needs to be more Black representation in Star Wars, which obviously old school fans took great offense to, because there have been great, strong Black characters throughout the saga. And also, I think a lot of fans did not like that she admitted to not really kind of like doing her homework on this and having much reference point for the material and stuff, you know. And again, what happens is when the show's not working, these become the things that people start piling on and nitpicking. Whereas if the show was working, none of this would be an issue. But again, this becomes part of the problem because the show's not delivering. And I also have to say that, you know, obviously it's never right to, you have to separate the actress from the part. You know, if you're not happy with the part, you don't go harassing the actress as well. But I do wonder, like, you know, to what degree and to what percentage she's getting it, you know, because they're really, the way Lucasfilm has treated fans is like a blanket thing of like, you know, if you don't like this material, period, you're a racist. So it doesn't leave any room for legitimate criticisms that people may have.
No, I was reading about it and listen, because again, like, you know how it is. Like, if you have a thesis, like your algorithms on social media just align with that thesis. But I've heard a bunch of podcasters talking about it where it's like, no, the minute that they put her out, like the minute they showed her, people jumped on it. You know, like people were like, she looks terrible. She looks this, like that, like woke bullshit. Like a lot of vitriol came out the minute they just put out the trailer. And that's, dude, that's messed up. Like
there was always going to be that percentage that are not going to like, you know, the female representation and like the newer characters and stuff like that. And that stuff's obviously wonky. It's kind of it's a strange fan base right now because it's such a mix of types and all of that. But but I also think they're throwing a lot of other good, solid fans under the bus, under this whole thing.
So I felt that until episode 3. And so this is where like I would say like I can nitpick and I have, and there was things that I'm like, ugh. Like again, anytime for me, anytime like her character talks, it sounds like it's off pitch in my ear. Again, not the actress's fault. Like I'm an acting coach. I feel very confident. I'm not just saying this to be nice. It's literally not her fault. It's just like I was casting I was casting a play in 2019 where I wanted to do this part. It was like a leading man, like romantic leading man part. I was terrible in it. Like people told me I was terrible in it. I'm not, this is not who I am. It's just not, and so it's like these things happen, right? And I think again, she has the right look for the part. I think she looks perfect in the part, but it's like she's just, I think she has like a nice, like she seems nice, like a nice person.
It's all surface. She's not actually inhabiting the role. You never buy, the degree of like, the evil that she's supposed to portray in this, and I think she's also going for very obvious kind of almost cliche mannerisms to portray evil.
Right.
So
Obi-Wan, but so again, so it's like if I take her away, I have to say, and you and I are going to have a rumble, but we're going to keep it short, a short rumble. I think the show works for me. Like I cannot wait until next Wednesday. Like I'm going to watch the whole thing again. I'm going to binge it after it's done. Like I know for a fact I will, because when you have Vader and Obi-Wan together, like I'm like, this is great. And I went back and thought about it, and again listening to other podcasts, I'm like, actually I don't have to squint about Obi-Wan and Leia. That actually makes sense, because like if you look at this is a cool exercise in like filling the backstory with like things that that happen later. And I was like, I think like if they're off on canon or continuity, like I really don't care, but it does make it more fun. Like I kind of like that Leia, because she calls, if we acknowledge the sequels, she calls her son Ben. So why did she do that? Like there has to be a relationship there. Like what if she remembers Ben Kenobi saving her,
Well, their relationship improved, and actually that actress grew on me more as like the episodes, as we got deeper into the series, because she was a little less obnoxious in those later episodes than the early ones. But again, this is an example of the kind of thing that people are nitpicking because they're not being entertained. So instead of being entertained, you're going to start nitpicking on stuff when the show as a whole is not working. And the problem is that the stuff that's good in this is only magnifying all the stuff that doesn't work in this series, And I have to say that there is a kind of a sad poetry or irony to this, in that our generation, we were the ones that were crushed, the OT fans, by the prequels. And now you got the prequel lovers that are probably being crushed by this series. So they're experiencing what we did. So, turnabout's fair play.
Right. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Like, and I say this jokingly, like I apologize, but like, it's just funny to me that there are prequel lovers.
But there are, right?
But there are, I respect it.
For the longest time, you didn't know this, because obviously it was all the critics who dominated the conversation, and I guess the old school fans. As that younger generation grew and you saw more on social media, on YouTube, and them kind of singing the praises of it, you realize that there was a young generation that prequel series targeted, came of age, and to them, that's their Star Wars.
Star Wars,
yeah.
But this right here, man, I don't know. Again, I feel like I've been through this cycle so many times, and the ups and the downs. I don't know that I have a Star Wars anymore, but like, but when Ewan McGregor is on screen, I'm happy. I'm like, yep, great. This is gonna be a badass. Like I heard a critique that said that he's not, like someone said, they're like, Ewan McGregor doesn't strike me as like an action hero. They're like, I don't buy it when he's like fight. I buy it. I'm a hook, line, and sinker. I fully buy Ewan McGregor as like the reluctant hero who slowly is getting his powers back. Like, dude, I'm all in on that. Like, I will forgo everything else. Like,
yeah, you have a lot of fans that are upset that they're Jake Kenobiing him and all that stuff, and he's weak and all that stuff. In this context, again, I don't mind it because it's the part of the story. As long as we get to him eventually being the character that we know and love, it's taking a long time to get there. And we saw hints of it in episode 4 of this series. I think we're getting there, but they really need to knock 5 and 6 out of the park. But having said that, let's go back and we'll do the episode 3 and 4. So obviously, episode 3. It delivered what you wanted. Finally, we get at least the first confrontation since Revenge of the Sith with Vader and Obi-Wan.
Yeah, so again, leading up to it, I had so much resistance. So much resistance. I was like, give me a fucking break. Like, what? How are they? Like, they didn't meet. Give me a break. But then it's like, no, they had to have met. Like, again, I don't mean to have Stockholm syndrome, like I'm not belittling, but like, right, like but you go, they had to have met, and I've heard a lot of people talk about this. They had to have met because their interaction is so brief in New Hope. It's like they didn't go 20 years without seeing each other and then go, sup, like last time I saw you, Master of Evil, Doth. Like it's too brief of interaction. They already hate each other. You don't go from "you're my brother, Anakin," to that like coldness. It just, like, you think about this, I'm like, yeah, I do need a little bit of like a in between there. And how cool is it? And that scene, man, make me a Vader show. I'm in.
Which I think is a possibility. It's really gonna, I guess in a couple of weeks, we're gonna know how this series ends and whether it really was a self-contained thing or was it simply a launching pad for maybe another 6-episode arc for Obi-Wan and then a Vader series. I mean, I agree with you. They definitely, this
Vader is what
they got Vader right in this, in episode 3. I mean, this was a vicious, scary, it was almost like a horror movie version of Darth Vader. Very reminiscent of what they did with him in Rogue One, where it was just a frightening version of that character. So that they got right. Hayden, I mean, I've heard there's multiple people behind the suit, so it's kind of hard to tell who is who at any given time. But like James Earl Jones, he's credited, but is he crediting because they're sampling the voice? Because the voice definitely sounded way better than it did in Rogue One, where it sounded off. It just sounded like they used the older James Earl Jones voice and it just didn't fit. I've heard that they sort of did the same thing that they did for Luke's voice in Book of Boba Fett. Again, kind of a synthesized version of it, but they got it right. The look,
the sound,
the viciousness of the character. I mean, this was some of those most vicious stuff we've seen from Darth Vader in any part of the saga.
Yeah, like he's killing kids,
snapping necks.
Yeah, just like that. Yeah, the Hayden Christensen thing was always distracting for me. I look past that. I'm like, it's Vader though. Who cares? It is Vader. Like, and I remember I was watching episode 4 and I was like, God, I love Vader so much. Like, what? And I'm not into villains, like I'm not like, oh, I love the Joker or Green Goblin or something. I don't like villains. I like Superman, but I just love Vader so much. There's something so comforting about the dome, and it's like, I love Vader. And this is Vader. I mean, this is out of every piece of, like, we talk about Cobra Kai all the time. That's not, like, I'm going to say something controversial. To me, that's not Daniel LaRusso. That's just a fast talking Ralph Macchio, like it doesn't, Johnny Lawrence. Yes, that's Johnny Lawrence. But it's like, to me, Daniel is like, he's never been like that interested. Like, this is like, we get the thing from my childhood and it's so grotesque and it's so intense and it's like awesome. So I love that. I love that they had to fight. And oh my God, when he creates the fire and he like pulls Obi-Wan through the fire, like, that was so emotional. Like, again, what this is doing is like making the prequels like dramatic, making them really important. And in a way that, like, even Clone Wars, I think Clone Wars did a good job, but Clone Wars was its own good Star Wars thing. This is like taking the thing that wasn't a good Star Wars thing and making it better, I loved it. I love that.
You had some people saying, oh, it really wasn't much of a fight, but obviously it's the teaser for like the real fight that you're going to get in this when, Obi-Wan's got his mojo back,
You called it. You said he's going to have his ass handed to him. He's gonna have to get his shit together, and then he's gonna come back, and then he's gonna do something. I don't know that he's gonna win. Like, how does he win?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell. And again, it's like how much is Reva going to be involved in that whole thing
Yeah.
and how that's going to wrap up. So,
Well, to that point, and I'll shut up. Like, they did say two things recently in the past week of recording this. They said that there might be another, because this is like a big series. Like, people are watching this, so they're like, so Ewan McGregor was like, well, I'm down if they want to do another one. So, and I know that they're now thinking to the point where they changed. She was going to have a redemption arc, and now they want to keep her for season 2. Did you read this thing? Have you heard this?
You know what? I mean, I saw that story in general was floating around, and that they changed the story, but I stayed away from it because I'm really trying to stay away from any kind of spoiler related thing, just to approach these episodes fresh. And the leaks for all of these episodes were out like over a month ago. I've just gone out of my way to avoid it because I'm just trying to approach it fresh. And again, the problem with like dropping these series like once a week instead of like the binge thing is that people are so over analyzing each episode instead of waiting to get the full story arc.
Yeah.
Now, if we get the full story arc and we're not happy with it, that's one thing. But everyone's like, oh, this didn't happen in here and this didn't happen there. It's like, well, there is a longer story being told. So let's just see how the full story plays out.
Yeah, I with this kind of thing, because it was supposed to be a movie, like I wish they had just dropped all 6, and like no one's gonna jump off of Disney Plus, like I'm a parent. I can't afford to jump off of Disney Plus. Just, because that's right. Isn't that what they were doing for like some of the other streamers? They realized like if I drop all 6 at once, then people are gonna do the 6 and like HBO, they end the subscription.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, no one's dropping it. Like no parent is dropping out of Disney Plus. Like that is our lifeblood.
Yeah, and so many of these fans are crossover fans with the Marvel stuff, and there's so much other stuff. Like if you're an older parent, you have the older Disney stuff that you grew up with. So I don't think that's the case, but I do still think that this would have been much better served had they done it right as a movie, as a standalone movie. This could have been as big as No Way Home.
Yeah,
It really could have, because with characters as Obi-Wan, Darth Vader, the young Princess Leia featured in it, the right story, done right with the right director and the right writer who actually did enough research into it, because that's another thing that came to light. Like the writer didn't really have any awareness of like Revenge of the Sith and all of that.
And this is where you and I can argue. I think Deborah Cho is, and I've texted you this. So she is a Star Wars fan, and she's like, I think she's doing a good job. Like I really do think she's doing a good job, because she's
doing a mediocre job.
All right, let me have it. All right.
She's doing a mediocre job, because again, this series is all over the place. The stuff that's good is really good, but the stuff that's bad is, for me, dragging it down, man. It's like, for me, bottom line, it's like, it's serviceable. It's serviceable entertainment. This could have been one of the best Star Wars projects release, definitely under the current regime of Lucasfilm. But I think in general, because the story is there, and the years of audience investment, and it's multi-generational, because the original trilogy fans care about Obi-Wan and Vader. The prequel fans care about Obi-Wan and Vader, and I think even the sequel fans have enough of the story or investment because they're the same generation who watched Clone Wars and Rebels and all that stuff. So had they taken the time to really do this right and release it as a standalone film, it would have been huge for them, and instead we're getting a serviceable, entertaining series.
See, again, I'm so cynical, but like I don't see it as serviceable, because when I'm in Obi-Wan land, which is the show Obi-Wan, right? Like whenever it's not I'm not taking the other stuff seriously. Like, but when it's him, I'm so invested. I'm like my heart's pumping.
Yeah.
I'm like disappointed when the show ends. I'm like, oh I want more. Like I tried watching the Batman again, and I loved it in the movie theater. I couldn't get through it. I was like, yeah, it's too like this. I'm like, I can't wait to watch the whole thing from start to finish.
Provided that they stick the landing, because that's going to be the thing. It does, or
they're not
leave a bad taste in your mouth where you just don't want to revisit this at all, and that's very possible.
They're not sticking. I'm going to tell you right now. Spoiler, the crystal ball. They are not sticking the landing on this. There's no physical. I'm saying this as someone who likes the show. They're not going to convince you to stick the landing. It's impossible. Like the stakes are too high. There's not enough like runway at this point. We have 2 30-minute episodes. How long are these episodes? They're not that long.
No, well, yeah, I mean, like prior to this last one, episode 4, which we'll get into in a little bit, they've actually been like, I think 42, 44 minutes. This was a particularly short one, and I'm talking about the fourth episode.
Right.
So this was like a very, very concise one. But yeah, and an episode that kind of felt more like a filler episode in a series that really can't afford any filler episode. Like every episode should be vital. And I guess the problem for me is that so far, none of these episodes have been great for me. Some have been good, some have been okay, some have been better than others, but they have not had that truly like, oh wow, episode for me.
3 was great. Come on.
3 had the payoff of like the ending and stuff like that. It was, I mean, I think of all the episodes so far, obviously that was the best one.
Yeah.
But like this fourth episode, it was interesting because, you know, we're getting obviously Obi-Wan getting kind of back in the groove and stuff. Yeah. And that's, I think, what the main purpose of this episode was. But like the Princess Leia and Reva stuff was god awful in this episode. It was just, it was like that interrogation, that it was just the same scene over and over and over again, you know? It's like, I didn't sign up for this. The Obi-Wan stuff, infiltrating the area and trying to pull off the rescue and using the stealth tactics, all that was great. Him rediscovering the Force, great. Him using the saber again, great. The opening scene where he's in the tank and Vader's in the tank and there's that almost like that telepathy going on.
Yeah.
That's the kind of epic stuff that this whole series should really be about. But my problem with this fourth episode is that he's just come off of that confrontation in the third episode. It should have sunk in a little bit more. They should have given that time to breathe and for him to really lick his wounds and kind of reflect a little bit more. And instead, immediately they jump into the next mission.
This is so funny. Do you say that? So like, I forgot about the interrogation. It like didn't even register. I mean, yeah, but like I'm expecting it now. Like I'm immune to it. You know, I'm just like when she's like, yeah, but she like, like, what do you know? She's like, nothing. What do you know? Right? Like, it's embarrassing, but like, I didn't even think about it. Cause it's like, it doesn't, I have so little expectations of that duo right there. I mean, it was embarrassing, right? Like here she's killing people, whatever. Let's not even talk about that.
And the Leia actress is actually out acting Moses Ingram, which is sad.
I know. It's just miscast, man. It's just, I tell you, it's not in her key, and the writing is not great. But with this last episode, I love that you bring this up because for like the fact that he doesn't lick his wounds, to me, it's like because he starts the episode like, you know, like he's on like he awake. It's a Force Awakening. He is like awake. Like it slapped him not, and this is I would think you would like it because of how, you know, we talk about like the Luke that was distraught, and we talked about in the Maverick episode, the Top Gun Maverick, that our characters aren't beaten down. He is like, whoa, I'm not beaten down, you know? Mm-hmm. Like I gotta get it together. It's like he's like smelling salt. He's like, okay. Which way to the lightsaber? I got this. You know, I thought it was a wake-up call, which is so different than what we've been getting and everything else.
Yeah, and then on the other hand, you know, the plus about it is that it does paint him in a more heroic light, because here he is in need of kind of healing, and immediately his first concern is, you know, for the child and stuff. So I mean, I thought it was good, but it needed maybe just a little bit of a breather for that to sink in. That moment that he's damaged is like, just let that sink in a little bit. You know, it didn't have to be the whole episode, but just maybe the first 5 minutes of that, and just kind of give that time, and maybe a little bit of that dueling telepathy just to tease it and to tease that next confrontation stuff. I just felt like they really needed to let that sink in and let that moment breathe a little bit.
And that's where we get into 6 episodes with 2 episodes of filler. You know, like those first 2 episodes are just like world building, but those 2 episodes were, I mean, like, I don't know. But so I think, I don't know. I think they got me back. My final thoughts, they got me back in these last 2 episodes. I'm getting exactly what I wanted. I'm not looking at the shit I don't want. I don't know. I'm feeling good about this. And again, I don't think they're going to stick any landing. I think it's just going to, it's like, we're going to get the same intensity as 3 and 4. And there's going to be another season, which I don't need, but there will be another season.
Yeah, unless it's a season of Obi-Wan being genuinely badass. Like, okay, we got you to this point.
Right.
Now go on some missions where you're actually, kicking ass as a true Jedi. That would be cool because it took such a long time to get him to that point that we're just going to kind of, have that ending and then it's like done,
Yeah.
So I think again, it's,
But again,
But
sorry, like again, and this is my beef. Lucasfilm, I think this they don't give a shit about Jedis. Like
No.
Jedi, growing for me as a kid, the Jedi again, we've talked about this so many times. Some people it's the space fight. For me, it was the spirituality of the Jedis. It was the superhero quality of the Jedi. Give me a Jedi show with Obi-Wan maybe training people. No, that's not going to happen. Liberating Jedis and them being like this covert ninja. Nope. Too much respect for Jedis then. It's like, no, there's no respect. No
Yeah,
respect.
and that's something again, like I think older fans like us would want, and I don't think Lucasfilm cares about us anymore. It's like they're kind of chasing this
Right.
new audience, and so I think a lot of that is just sort of being left behind. I think they're doing it just to do it, wipe the slate clean, and obviously they're planting the seeds of these new characters that they actually want to do stuff with, and I think that's what they're doing moving forward, and they're using the bait and switch to lure you with that and get these new characters on board.
Yeah, it's like whenever they run out of ideas, there's like bring a Jedi in, but like the Jedi was the premise. Like that was the thing that I think a lot of us and then if someone's watching this and they disagree, like tell us in the chat, but like or in the comments. But I just feel like the Jedi for me was such a unique thing that it was just I wanted to watch Jedi movies. But that's not what Lucasfilm. Because some like Revenge of the Sith, I love the Jedi stuff. I mean, some of the fighting is like over the top, but like I love the Jedi stuff.
Yeah, and that's something that they still haven't, I think, since the original trilogy, done a proper Jedi story. Unless again, some fans would see like, oh, it's in the books or it's in the comics, but as far as on film, I don't think they've done it justice since.
Right, Clone Wars. God, Rebels is the best example of this, in my opinion, because they scaled it down. It's in that era. It's like right in this era. It's a little bit after this. It's like maybe 5 years after Obi-Wan. And there's like a new Jedi that has Jedi powers, and he's training with someone who was an apprentice, who wasn't even like a full Jedi back in the day, but became like kind of like low key, not low key, but just like a underground. What like I don't know, like not a criminal, but he's like an underground rebel, right? And it's about the rebellion for like great, but Jedis are at the heart of it. That's interesting. Unlike something that I know you're excited about, which is the Andor show, which I don't think has any Jedi in
it. Yeah, it's like I could care less about the Andor show. I wasn't like the biggest fan of Rogue One either. I thought it had like the most charismatic, devoid lead actors in a Star Wars project. So yeah, no, I mean, this was like the last stand for me. And it's just, to me, it's a tragedy that someone like Filoni didn't get his hands on this to do it right, but now we got to write it out and see. And that's it. I think if I hadn't already been disappointed so many times before by Lucasfilm, this would probably sting more. But I think we're so used to it by this point that I didn't expect much from this show to begin with once I saw who the creative was behind it and how they were handling it. So it is what it is, but we'll see. I mean, if they could give us 2 really solid episodes to at least wrap it up in a somewhat palatable fashion, that'd be probably the best that they can do at this point. I'm not holding my breath though.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm enjoying it for what it is. And they're not gonna do anything spectacular. They're gonna keep it going. They're gonna do another season and all that stuff. So yeah. And I don't even know what they could do with it. I mean, he kills Darth Maul in Rebels. So like I don't know. Like, are they gonna bring Darth Maul into this? And people make the argument like there's the Syndicate and all that. Like, I don't care about any of it. Give me Jedis. That's my Jedis. Not gonna happen. All right, Bruce. Great job today. Thank you so much for your insight, your wisdom, your brilliance.
And thank you, Ron. It's interesting getting your take on this because you're more enthusiastic than we expected a few months back. Because I know you were really dreading this, and so it's nice to see that you're actually getting a lot more out of this than expected.
I know when you send me your hate texts, I tread cautiously. And I was like, I'm gonna just save this for when we talk about it. Cause I'm like, I'm turning a little bit. I'm like, I'm enjoying it. Like, again, I acknowledge like the schmacky stuff, but like the Ewan McGregor, the Darth Vader stuff, so good. I think it's I say so good. I think it's that good. It's better than
Yeah,
the
but there
prequels
needs to be more of it. I think that's the problem. There just needs to be more of it, and hopefully these next 2 episodes is much more about them and their relationship than all this other clutter.
Well,
But
Bruce,
we'll see.
Bruce, I think you're gonna get another season of more.
No,
Be careful what you wish for. Yeah, don't overshoot the note.
I'm gonna do the Vader. No,
No, hurt me. I tell you. All right. Well, thank you for your time today, Bruce. Thank you for watching the show. Hit the like, subscribe, read Bruce's blog. It's so good. It's so good.
yes, the nobscritic.com will include a link in the description. And yes, we'll see you again very, very soon with some more solid R&B content.
Heck yeah. All right. Have a good night.
Peace.
Peace.